Hi, welcome to Season 4. Can you believe it? Season 4 of Fcc Supporters Square, the show for fans, by fans, and about fans. I am your host, Matt Warman. My other hosts have various things that are going on in their lives who were going to be here but can't, and that happens. Also, one of our guests got COVID. How wonderful. But we are still doing this. We are still excited. I have my guest today, Andrew McCormick. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me once again, Matt. Always a pleasure.
You know, it's going to be such a great season. There's a lot to talk about. We'll get into what happened last season. We'll get into predictions. One of the things I want to do, like right up top, is, hey, if you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the more algorithms get out there, and the better we all do to pass on the good vibes of that is FC Cincinnati. Also, we're going to try to make a little more focus this year than we did last year on having some fans. Yes, we are going to still have our regular banter, but we're also going to try to get more of you out there. I know it seems like we only do Vanguard and Norton, but if you are DI, if you are Pride, if you are Hanger, if you're Auxilia 1, anybody out there, you can come on my show. We are SG agnostic. And if you don't belong to any SGs and you're just like, I like the team, can I come and talk? Yes, please come and talk. So now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about last season. So we ended up again in misery and the playoffs, particularly against a team that we played but a couple of months ago before, and beat them 3-0. And then they came in and kicked our tails. That left me a very bad taste in my mouth. What were your thoughts on that last game? I hate to bring up bad memories first, but we got to get that out of the way before we get on to the other good stuff.
Oh, man, the last game, that has been largely erased from my memory. There was plenty of misery, as you said. Misery builds stronger supporters, I hope. If not, then I don't know what I'll do with all this misery, but we use that. And, the last game, it was unfortunate, of course, but something that I think the team is really going to be able to take to improve upon going into the 2026 season, just because that last game exemplified so many of the issues that were holding them back in 2025, and it all just came out in the worst possible way there at the end.
There's a lot of things it was such a weird season. I don't know how many times I said that last year, was that in the middle of the season. This is a weird season. Last year we had Lucho, and Lucho was the day after the 24 season. He's like, I want out. And we're like, why? Everybody loves you. You're loved here. And then he left, and then we had Kubo holding out. We had Orishano holding out. We're like, what's going on? And then we got Denke and Evander. But like just at the end of particularly Evander, just at the end, like he showed up 2 days before we had CONCACAF. So, we didn't really get a chance to settle in. We got new players there. Then we had some injuries. Some players who were supposed to come back from injuries didn't come back. We had Hagelin, who was playing so well, and then gets football tackled, and of course Guido said nothing
on the field. We'll call it what it was.
Straight up, and he turned out to be our best defender, and without him, we were on a kind of a grinder type of trajectory where we would get a goal, maybe two, and then give up two, and then hold on. There was a lot of white knuckle 1-goal games. Yeah. Particularly when you look at some of the offensive firepower that we have, at least on paper, you would think we would do much better. You would think that we would score more goals. And that's certainly one of the issues was, well, we couldn't score more goals because our defense is kind of a shambles. We play well. We get back. We ended up 29-5, 1 point behind Philadelphia for the Shield. Yeah. That's a really good achievement for a group of guys who seemingly had a revolving door of injuries. You got to remember how many people. Obi was out for a large portion of time, and we had to put in Brian Anunga, who was acceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not Obi, but 2 years ago, Obi was Brian Anunga. So, and then Orishano was out for a large portion of time, and that's where we were expecting a lot of goals. And Engel was there, and he would play well, and then we'd get some other guys. We had Brad Smith, and then he promptly got injured. So
Yeah, the debilitating loss of Brad Smith.
right,
That's what derailed 2025.
Exactly. I'm glad you noticed that. We all know that Brad Smith was not the reason, but it was symptomatic of even our backups were getting injured, and then we're seemingly never had the same lineup. There was no lineup consistency, which means that you have to your game plan has to change a little bit, and it keeps changing all the time. I think so. We ended up doing that, but we played, like I said earlier, we beat Miami 3-0. Evander looked like unstoppable, the heir apparent. And then we play them in the playoffs and we lose 4-0. And it looks like we can't play offense or defense. All I know was that as I was leaving the stadium, some Miami fan stand up and said, Messi's the GOAT. And the only thing I could do was angrily say, you're a GOAT. It was really, I was just so mad at the team and because really I thought they had a really good chance of winning. And it turns out if they did, they would have had MLS Cup at home.
Yeah, that hurts.
Again, the second time that we've had the opportunity to have everything at home in our stadium. How bad was it for you watching the home games and how we performed during home games?
Last year, I mean, it's extremely difficult. I mean, we look forward to that week in, week out, all season long, the atmosphere, the fans that we have been able to create there at that stadium that the team has earned, many times over, especially the last, 3-4 years. And for last year to just be so disappointing at home is a massive blow. I mean, I think I don't have the exact, quotes in my mind. I don't have those memorized, but I believe that Albright himself or even Noonan alluded to that in some of their own comments about, their stale performance. They could feel it in the crowd, which I don't take as a slight on the fans. They don't expect us to be going insane when we're grinding out a 1-0, win all the time, but they acknowledge that it wasn't quite up to par, how they would prefer to do it.
I think the fans have always, generally speaking, have been awesome. Not just the Bailey. It used to be it was the Bailey, then a bunch of quiet sections. You still have some quiet sections where you have really cushy seats, but a lot of the stadium does that. When there's a goal celebration, almost the entire stadium is doing the sha-la-la and the arm dance. I don't know what you want to call it. So I noticed that the fans, and Albright did say that in his news conference about 2 months ago, saying that it was unacceptable for the fans, for the performances that they were putting on. They needed to do better. I feel like a lot of home losses, even though we had 20 wins, most of them were on the road. We had the greatest road victories for the year, the number of victories for the year, not even close, which is weird because the 2 prior years we were like winning 7, 8, 9 in a row, particularly at home. I think we had like undefeated or 1 loss, and then we have like 4 or 5 losses, and it seems bad, which kind of dovetails into what I've been reading, which we'll get into roster changes as well. But I don't know if you've been looking at FCC social media posts or Cincinnati general media posts. I get it. If you're a fan of the Bengals or the Reds, you're frustrated because your management group won't go out and do the things necessary to win. I understand it. I'm old enough to remember World Series championships, plural, in a decade.
Can't really.
Exactly. And so I get the current state of we're a bunch of sad sacks and the management is clearly not doing it for those other sports. But that's not all Cincinnati sports. And because you have a favorite player of yours or a player that came back on a 90% pay cut, suddenly we're going to be wooden spoons. I lived through multiple wooden spoons. This is not a wooden spoon team. This is not a wooden spoon team. And there's going to be I'll get into some reasoning why. But given that, what are your thoughts on the current state of what you're reading and how fans are reacting to some of the departures?
As far as how people are reacting to FC Cincinnati departures, I mean, I've seen a mixed bag of reactions. You're always going to have, I mean, some of your more casual fans that they see Luca Orishano is, leaving, and they're saying, well, what the hey, I, just bought that dude's jersey. I remember him, hitting those absolute bangers from midfield. But then you kind of have to say, okay, well, in 2025, he wasn't that guy anymore. He was a little bit of a solo artist, and maybe, you could definitely say probably went for his own glory a little too often when the system needs to be feeding, Kevin Danke, helping Evander out. And so, I mean, that's, like I said, you're going to see a mixed bag, but I mean, really, I think a lot of people understand that that's what it is. Beyond that, I mean, you have losses of, Yuya Kubo, which kind of felt inevitable. I mean, he was asking for concessions at the beginning of last year. You had the feeling that it probably wasn't going to continue on into this year. I mean, Brad Smith, contract declined. I mean, many are in arms about that.
Well, yeah, until the injury, everybody thought he was going to save the season.
Yeah. And of course, the big one is Brenner. I mean, and God, what what an amazing team it would have been to have Brenner still around. But I think we all knew the second that, the ink was dry on that deal back over the summer, that it wasn't going to be viable to continue into this season, unfortunately, just with the restraints that we have on what we're able to do with the roster.
So let's quick review. Yuya Kubo, who held out at the beginning of last season, as you said, is out. I don't see him re-signed anywhere. I think he's 31, and he scored 10 goals the last year with Lucho kind of up front. So he was playing a lot of Lucho ball, which is a different style of play. I'm not saying it's good, bad, but there's only one Lucho, and you can only play that style when he's on your team, and he's not. So having Yuya Kubo up top, he wasn't going to score 10 goals this year if he was up top.
No, likely not.
So I'm sure he was unhappy about that. Orishano also held out. I think he was ready for bigger and better things. This was like his second or third year, and he got injured, and after holding out and didn't come back for a big period of time. Ingles seemed to be well, but his contract, his loan was rejected, and he signed with RSL.
That one hurts a little bit, I think. I mean, Lucas Engel, I think he did well in that position. He wasn't as exciting as, some folks may have wanted, but I think he is the kind of player who we probably needed in that spot, a guy who offers a little bit more service, but has the ability to step in and, be a part of the attack if need be, but also, put in minutes at center back when he was needed. So that one will miss him a little bit more than I think some let on.
So we also have him, and then we put goalkeeper, third string goalkeeper Paul Walters. He's on loan with a USL team, I think.
He's over in Ireland, I'm pretty
sure.
Or
Ireland, maybe that's it. Yeah. That's right. Alec Khan retired, so we only have two. We have two good keepers, so we have Celentano and Laura. So I'm not worried. We don't need 4 keepers on our roster. I think that's one too many.
If we get to 4 keepers, we're in trouble.
We declined the option for Kai Kamara. He's 41?
41, 90, something like that. So.
And then Dominic Marsic, we rejected his loan, and he went back to RSL too. So I guess RSL is building their own FC squad.
FCC West, if you will.
Yeah, so. There you go. With more wives, I guess. I don't know.
Well.
That's neither here nor there. Some of the people that we, and we'll get into our new signings, but people that we did keep is Alvis Powell. He got re-signed. I think a lot of people were surprised about that. I know a lot of people like Lucas Orishano, but the position that he was playing in Lucho ball, as I've heard it called many times, was pretty much offense, not a whole lot of defense. He was a winger. He was a wing back, but in name only. He did not play a lot of defense. He would come back if somebody held up play enough that he could come back and play a position. But he was not hustling back, even when he was hitting his 50-yard bangers. Um, he's he was more of a make a move, try to get somebody to miss, and then try to do a cutback.
Mhm.
I think the league figured out what his move was, because he tried those moves and didn't do very well. Then he was hitting the post a few times. I think he was pressing a little bit. As you said, I think he was trying to take his shots,
Mhm. Yeah.
instead of getting it in and just an assist is as good as a goal when
Yeah.
you need the points. Get the points. Don't worry about your stats.
I think he's extremely talented. He just didn't seem to be a good partner for what this team needed to get out of Kevin Danke specifically.
And I think we'll talk about the larger how he fit in the system or anything like that. But a buddy of mine, and my seatmate, Todd Greninger, whenever Orishana was brought into a game, he goes, "There it is. We just gave up a goal," and sure enough,
Yeah.
within 2 minutes, because he was out of position and would give up. I think he gave up at least 3 easy goals within 2 minutes of him entering the game.
Yeah.
Once you could say, well, maybe there was something else. Twice, you might be able to explain it away, but 3 or more times, no, you're not going to be able to explain it away. He's not a defensive player. So hopefully some of the new guys that we have are doing that. For those who are more casual about the sport or casual about this, right, you got to remember that MLS is not the NFL, as in the top league,
Yeah.
or Major League Baseball. It is not the top league. Um, we are a feeder league for more moneyed soccer leagues, particularly in Europe. That's where people want to play. That's where people want to. That's where the most amount of money is. That's where the most amount of prestige is. We're getting better, and we have our league. But
Mhm.
the sad fact is, MLS top players, if they're young, are going to move on to bigger and better. So Orishano is a part of that. So the goal is to bring in people that will fill that role even bigger or better. I think the result of losing so poorly in the playoffs and giving 2-4-0 losses in the playoffs is, I think, a head scratcher for the fans, but I think it was also a wake up call for the
Oh,
coaching staff.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but with that being said, nobody knew who Orishano was. Nobody knew who Kevin Danke was. We're not signing the Messies. And for those who are saying, well, Brenner, now that Brenner's not there, well, first off, Brenner came in on a very special one-time only offer of 90% discount for the hopes of having an extra scorer for the playoffs. And he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Mhm.
Brenner said the right things. He wanted to be here. But he is owned by an Italian team, and they did not want to negotiate. They wanted him back, or we had to pay them $15 million. It's just there was no Miami accounting for Brenner. Brenner wants to be here. We want Brenner, and I know that you guys wanted Brenner there, but we don't have the money. We just don't have the money. Now you can say, well, why did we sign a center back as a DP? Um, I'm not the GM, and you can certainly scratch your head about that, but he is. I don't think anybody would deny that he is the best defender in MLS, and if you need the best defender in
Of course.
MLS, we don't have players to fix him. If we had a Miazga and he was still in his prime, I think Miazga's. I mean, we signed him again as well, which was, I think, shocking to a lot of people as well. But I think the coaching staff and I'm sure the medical staff have been talking and saying, yeah, he's good to go. He should be fine. If we have a healthy Miazga and a healthy Robinson, and Miazga could help Robinson with some of the leadership because he's a very good player. I think his leadership, right? He's
Yeah.
never been
Yeah.
relied upon as the vocal defensive leader. He speaks by his play, and which is great.
Yeah.
Um, but
It
uh,
helps to have a Miazga in the room who is, the vocal guy, in your face, and he's going to stand up for his team. I mean, that's extremely valuable to
I
have paired with that.
I think that's a great pairing. So What do you see 2026 with a pairing of a healthy and back to normal Miazga, a healthy and ready to go for the World Cup Robinson, and a healthy and one more ride Nick Hagland?
I mean, I think there's really a statement of intent on FCC's part, right? I mean, you give Robinson that DP deal, which many are gonna rightfully question and scratch your heads at. Now, there is the caveat: we don't know what roster construction is going to look like post World Cup going into this restructured season in 2027. Stay tuned next year for that. But I mean, you sign one of the best, if not the best, MLS defenders to a DP contract. You have Matt Miazga still around, who has, lost a step, but is still extremely valuable, very good player. You have, like you said, Nick Hagland is in there. Teenage Hadabi's in there. You still have Gilberto Flores, hanging around in there. Kyle Smith just came in. I mean, you have an array of guys who, on many teams, would be starters on your, back line, are going to be sitting on our bench, waiting, to compete for a spot or get late game minutes. That's, I think, a real statement on FC Cincinnati's part that they're, dedicated to locking down that back line and being an impenetrable force as much as they can. Of course, paired with, a great keeper like Roman Celentano, and even what Evan Loro has shown in Celentano's absence. I mean,
I think we have, yeah. I think if we can return to form on the defensive side, because it's all builds from the back to the front. There is a lot of things that we need to fix, and there's a lot of things that people got to remember. That we have a Kevin Denke. When he came in January, he had already played half a season. He already played 15, 20 games. And then he plays CONCACAF and Leagues Cup and the full 34. So by the time the playoffs come, and you could see towards the end of the playoffs, his production dropped. Is it that they figured out who he was? I think it's that if you're playing 75 games in a 12 months, that's a lot of wear and tear. And yes, he was injured in this first injury that he ever had, and he was out for 3 weeks. And so, how healthy was he? He was healthy enough to be out there, but was he the Kevin Denke that we saw early in the season doing bicycle kicks and doing all kinds of amazing things? No, he was wore out. I think his body mentally and physically were wore out. He's had 2 months. Everybody seems to be training. Everybody got here on time. We had no drama. This might be the first year in FC Cincinnati history that we have no preseason drama.
Yeah.
We're not waiting on a big signing. I know that a lot of people are so used to having a Kevin Danke or one of the many other high profile signings that we've kind of come to expect from this team.
Mm-hmm.
We can't. I know that we have a league that we feed people, but we cannot feed 7, 8, 9 people every year and somehow expect these guys to come in first, second, third, or fourth. I was talking to some other SGs. I was at some reveals and whatnot last week. The general consensus there was, well, we'll be fourth to eighth, and that'll be fine, and we'll come from behind and sneak up on people and beat them. Do you see this team falling from a Shield contender squad?
I mean, that's always a tough one, right? But I mean, the expectation going into 2023 wasn't that we were going to be contending for a Shield. The expectation in 2024 was raised to that level, and I think that we, played to that level. And obviously, we didn't win it, but they were right in there. And last year, of course, 1 point off from the Shield. I don't see, and I'm a homer. I work on vibes, not facts, as is well known by those who know me. I don't see really any reason that this team couldn't win Supporters Shield in 2026. I don't expect them to finish as low as 8th. I could realistically see them being, top 3, top 4 at the worst. Because really, I mean, what has this team changed since last year? I mean, you can go back to 2023 if you want, but I mean, last year we came into the season with high expectations. what has changed from the start of last year that would dampen your expectations to, that hefty of a degree is what I would ask. I mean, you still have Danke up top. Your midfield is intact. Obi's going to be back. Geedy's hanging out there, waiting to take over a spot. Buka, still there, still a solid piece, right? We already talked about the back line. I'm sure we'll talk about the wings because you have to talk about those, and there's a little bit of shakeup there. But really, I don't see too much reason to expect the team to take a serious drop off. And I would think by the middle of the season, we're going to be, right there in the mix of, any number of teams that could step up and grab that top spot.
Yeah, so we got Ramirez for basically left wing back. He's a forward, but he's also played wing back before, so he's played some defense. I saw his sizzle reel, for lack of a better term, and yeah, he did some diving headers. He made some really good crosses. He made some really good close wide angle shots. It's kind of guy that Albright I could see is high on. I I don't think Albright has ever had a major miss. I mean, he's had some minor misses, obviously, when you can't get them all.
Well,
But
yeah.
it hasn't been since Addy that we had somebody that everybody was so excited to have, and then out like 6 weeks in, it's like, why did we sign this? And of course, that was before Albright. So Albright knows what he's doing. I think he's got that down. So we got that. We got Tom Barlow. These are, and I know these are not splashy signings. These are depth pieces, except for Ramirez. It's going to be Kyle Smith. We signed Jabari, so he's going to be in the mix somewhere. And we re-signed Alvis Powell. So it's not another $15 million major signing. That's fine. And for those of you who are saying, well, what about Brenner? I mean, without Brenner, we're nothing. Brenner joined very late in a very late summer window in August.
Yeah.
I think he played in 6 or 8 games. Yes, did he help us win a game or two? Yes, he's Brenner. Of course, he's going to help. But it wasn't like we had him all season and he was scoring 30 goals and we let him walk when we had an opportunity to get him. He was there for one reason, was to win the cup, and he was more than happy to do it because he wasn't getting the minutes that he was playing in Serie A. And
Yeah.
it's so if you
Yeah.
thought Brenner was in the plans in any shape or form in 2026, they tried. I guarantee you they tried. Brenner wanted to be here. Albright wanted him here, but he wasn't going to take less than $1 million. We don't have boosters, I guess, that kind of give him a bunch of commercials to pay for his salary on a max TAM deal. I mean, I guess that's what they do in Miami. I mean,
Well, you can't account for how Miami plays. If you look at what they're doing and you say, well, why isn't FC Cincinnati doing that? Lionel Messi. That's
because
that's the only answer. They have their own way of doing the books down there, and that's what we live with. For the league bringing in that much of a draw. But
I don't know why we're paying for his salary, but we are. I don't understand that at all. Well, maybe they should pay for Brenner's salary. So yeah, I could see you being miffed at that, but that's outside of FC Cincinnati's control and Brenner's control. That's the league. That's a league issue.
yeah, and I mean to my earlier point about what has significantly changed from last year to this year. I mean, you were referring to some of the strikers that we have to pair with Kevin Danke. I mean, who was your second striker starting last year, right?
Corey Baird.
Yuya Kubo, Sergio Santos.
Dado occasionally, but
Dado occasionally. And I mean, who do you have this year? I mean, I would say guys that are at least as good, if not better, than those options. I mean, I don't know much about Barlow. He's, in my mind, effectively Corey Baird with a different name. But I mean, Jabari, I mean, you were talking about, Albright's hit rate. Jabari didn't necessarily, come in and show out when he got brought in last summer. But before they got Brenner, Jabari was the guy that they were bringing in to pair with Danke. So, I mean, I'm going to see what he has to offer. And there's probably going to be a rotation going on there. Jabari, Barlow, You were saying Dado. I mean, he'll be in the mix, I'm sure, if he's out of the doghouse. But
I'm hoping because he's the backup. So here's the crazy thing. So a month ago, I was going to come out and say, I have this hot take. I have this hot take. We're going to go to a back four. We're gonna shake everything up because our style of play is crap and we're not playing very dynamically. And then I realized that, well, because the World Cup is coming in June, we're condensing half a season in like 3 months. So they're going to be Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday games for the foreseeable future. And there's just no way you're going to be able to put Evander and Danke out there. Heck, I'm hoping you have somebody to replace Buka. With this kind of schedule, I think this team is perfectly situated with the players that we have, right? So we have Anunga and Obi. We have Flores and Hidebe. We have Jabari and Dado, or Dado and Evander. We have Jabari and Barlow. We have depth in everywhere, but maybe wing backs. But even Alvis Powell can play wing back and some backup center back. So we have a roster that is set up for when you're playing, and I'm not trying to denigrate anybody, but when you're playing the Montreals, the DC Uniteds, the teams that are still trying to figure out what they want to do, maybe the Red Bulls this year, where their academy is kind of falling apart, or their frontline players have gotten old and haven't figured out how to replace them. Those guys, you know what I'm talking about. You don't need to bring your all of your A team when you've got to play 3 games in 7 days. You gotta rotate. You gotta have faith in your B players to be able to carry today. And so instead of winning 3-0, maybe you win 2-1.
Yeah.
We're used to white knuckles, but I think even our B players are better than some A teams.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the whole point, right? Because, I mean, obviously with a condensed schedule, those, days where you're bound to hit fatigue, you want that. Even on, your premier Saturday matchup, FCC versus Columbus, Philly, Miami, whatever. You see that a lot, that, your substitutes, the guys on the bench, they can't just be, random, nobodies that you picked up off the street, 30 minutes before kick. I mean, you see that in the last, 30, 40 minutes of a match, that you need, that legitimate talent coming in to support and, possibly offer something to change things up, not just a warm body. And I think FC Cincinnati's done, a fine job of addressing that. I think that's something that's been directly referenced by Albright before, that, you need guys on the bench who would be starters elsewhere. And
you do. So gone are the days where there were 3 teams who really cared about winning and a bunch of teams who put out players out there. And if they gel, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine too. Everybody's trying now. There's more teams in the league, and there's more billionaire owners who have a lot of pride about winning and winners and money and that kind of stuff. So it's not like you're still going to have 1 or 2 teams who are like the Bengals, who don't want to pay or do the things that need to be done. And those are the teams that you're going to play, but those are fewer and far between. And even those teams have some value, have some worth. It's a pretty parity driven league. So it's going to be very interesting with such a condensed schedule. So I don't think we're going to go to a back four, but what do you think about a back four?
A back four? I don't have any strong opinions one way or the other. I don't expect we would see it. I mean, you see the commitment they put into some of these, center backs, and the guys who they've brought in or retained on the wings. I mean, I think that their, goal is to still keep with the, the back 3, back 5, however you want to, read that, depending on what formation you plug into FOTMob or FIFA or whatever. But I mean, I think that I would certainly be interested at some point to see a formation change, but with the comments that the front office, that, Albright, that Noonan have made, I trust that they are going to do the best that they can to build a successful team using the existing formation.
We're definitely going to have a style change, and then I think we're
Well,
going
style change for sure.
to. But that leads to the retirement, the moving on of Dom Kinnear. What do you feel? How do you feel about that? And then the new guy from Austin. I think you know who he is.
Yeah, his name was Brett Utley. Was that, I believe it?
Chad, Brad, something like
Last
that.
name is Utley because I always want to call him Chase Utley for obvious reasons. But no, I mean, I think that, first of all, Dom Kinnear is gone, and that is a tragedy. I mean, Dom Kinnear is an MLS legend, and it was always, cool to see him, over on our bench. He would come up and, greet the Bailey in warm ups, and that was always exciting. I think that move right there, though, entirely, signals where their minds are going into 2026. That, you look at it as he was essentially, you would call him the offensive coordinator, right? If this were the
Yes.
NFL or, football at all or whatever. And so they said, well, the offense was stale. They weren't doing what needed to be done to maximize the talent that was out there. So you change your coach, who is basically responsible for that. You bring in a guy who I believe Austin's second team was successful. Did they win
I'm not.
MLS Next last
I
year?
did not get a chance to go to the two website to see how well Austin two was playing, but he's a younger coach
Hmm.
with probably some new ideas and a new style of play.
Hmm.
I know that from what I gather from the news conference is that they want to play a more pressing style. We used to play a little more pressing style. We used to play under Yop Stom like total press, and for 20 minutes we'd be fine until we get tired and then give up 4 goals, and that was it. But I think we're trying to play a little more pressing style. I think a little more dynamic. If you look at how we played at times, it was very, and I'm not sure if it's Dom or the players, but it seemed to me like, all right, first I need you to go 2 steps to the left, and then I need you to go a diagonal. No, I said diagonal. No, left diagonal, then right diagonal. No, come back 3 steps. Now go to the diagonal 4 steps, and then cut across, and then I will hit you. It seemed like they were out there trying to solve calculus problems and not move into space, or the fluidity there was just not there. It felt like they were thinking all the time,
Hmm.
and I don't know if that was a product of the players, the coaching, both tired. I don't know, but they just seemed to be stuck in a single mode of operation, and they were seemed to be unwilling or unable to play. When you watch a lesser, and I truly mean this. I mean, we all have our rivalries, but a lesser Columbus Crew, and that Nancy could get maximum effort, and how dynamically they looked against us, and we still managed to win that playoff series by on talent wise
Hmm.
across the board. We were better in almost every position, but how they kept it close and had a chance at every single game to take that game is because they didn't think, they played, and I felt
Yeah,
like we were doing
yeah.
too much thinking. What do you think about that? Were they overthinking last year, or did you see the same thing I was seeing, or what are your thoughts on how the style of play in 2025?
Yeah, I don't have much of an eye for tactics or anything like that. I'm usually, too busy yelling and shouting, and like I said, I'm a vibes guy, so I'm always, hanging on to, like, the belief that any given moment, they're going to break through and score a goal. But I guess that's kind of the issue in itself, right? Is that you were always waiting for that moment that they were going to break through and score a goal. It didn't seem like they were ever truly building up to anything. They, like you said, they were, they weren't playing, they were thinking and, calculating, or maybe they weren't doing enough thinking and calculating, but it just didn't look cohesive a lot of the time. And I think that that's what they're trying to address by shaking things up a little bit on the coaching staff, get some new voices in there, some new ideas, some new direction. Because I think that the mantra going into 2026 is going to be, feed Danke, first of all, because there wasn't enough of that. And I think that you're going to see that, I think you're going to see that bear some fruit when they start playing in a month, right?
3 days is our first preseason game. The 23rd at the time of this recording is the 20th. So in 3 days, they're already in camp. I haven't seen or heard anything other than everything's going well. Everybody's having good vibes and good times. And they did practice last week here in the cold. So that's good because you're going to have to go up to Minnesota in February and come here in February. And, there's major snowstorms coming, and who knows what's going to happen by mid-February. It could be 80 degrees. It could be 10 degrees. It could be both in the same day. It's Cincinnati. But that's a good sign. Is that I think we have a team that lost, had a well rest, know each other a year, right? Because you got to remember that.
Yeah.
Danke's got to learn the league, the city, his teammates, and we had other teammates, key teammates like Evander, also showing up, knows the league but doesn't know the city or the players or the coach for that matter. And I'd like to play this, but you're making me do that. I'll do what you say, but maybe that's not what I want. So maybe now we have time to go, all right, we're going to try to do this, and Denke can have some input in this rather than having somebody just game plan and think. That's what I really think. Our pressing was uneven. Somebody would press and somebody wouldn't. The defense, I haven't seen this defense this porous in a long time. There were so many goals that weren't just scored because, it was a bad bounce of the ball and they got numbers. It was just a regular defense, and they came right down the middle, and not even room and solid. If he's got to go one-on-one, it's you can't expect him to make stops from, 8 yards out or 10 yards out unopposed on a pass. There's nothing you can do about it. That defense looked porous. So I'm hoping that between the couple of new players and the new staff, maybe some new passing patterns. I'm not going to get into all that, but I know that I was there for Newton's first game in Austin, and he wanted to play a 4-3-3 diamond, and we lost 5-0.
Yeah,
because we didn't have the squad for that. I still don't think we have the squad for that, but now I think he's realized that, and this is like his 4th or 5th year. I don't think he needs to lean so much on a Dom Kinnear. I'm sure you're always going to miss a coach like that. But like you said, new approaches, new thoughts, new ideas, new ways to press, maybe a more dynamic piece. And given that we have so many games, I have to take a look, but I believe it's like 14 or 15 games before the June break.
Oh,
probably
I wouldn't know, but I'd believe it. Yeah,
a lot of games. So it's like. And we won't even talk about the 2027 season. That's going to be a crazy, a crazy piece.
Stay tuned for season 5.
So what do you expect out of this season, given all the things that we kind of talked about?
Yeah, I mean, based on what we've talked about, and we, touched on it earlier, I think that 2026, there's no reason to doubt this team going in. I mean, I trust, at the top of it all, I trust, Chris Albright. I trust his instincts. He's obviously proven to be extremely, reliable and, on point, knowing what he's doing. I am certainly not, hashtag noon and out, right? I think that they've done something that in Cincinnati we're unfamiliar with. They addressed their deficiencies and addressed how they were going to, attack those going into this offseason. And I'm excited to see what that gives us going into 2026, going into this, they referred to it as a refresh, right? Not a rebuild, a refresh. They are obviously planning on, committed to changing the tactics, to changing their approach, their mentality, how they use these players. love the players that we have, on the roster. I think that we have, a very good, attacking pair up there between Evander and Danke. We talked about the back line, which I'm a fan of. Midfield, we've got really good pieces. I'm very optimistic going into 2026. I'm looking forward to it. Uh, I mean, we can talk about, how we were optimistic last year. I'm going to get on a rambling, rant here, but we talk about the disappointment of 2025. Let it not be lost. This team was 1 point out of the Supporters Shield. And we're talking about how PO'd we are about how they did. They were 1 point out of the Supporters Shield last year. And they're going into this offseason saying, wasn't good enough. Let's shake things up. Love that. I entirely trust them. And I am extremely optimistic about, how this team's going to look.
I think from the front office, from the top down, this is my fan view, they are, unlike other organizations in this city, are willing to spend the time, the money, the effort, the talent, both on in the back office or the front office, like Albright and Newton, and also on the pitch.
Mhm.
Make sure the grass is fine, the team is fine, the seats are fine. We just got to put it all together. And it was we had a lot of strange bounces of the ball, injuries, people trying to get together. Like I said, I don't think we never really just said, these are our 11 because they're healthy and ready to go,
Mhm.
and come get us. We had Alva's Powell played center back. Engel played center back. It was like, wait a minute, these guys, Alva shouldn't be playing as a starter. I understand some backup duties, but somebody was injured, so now he's a starter. Okay,
Yeah.
can we win this game? Or we're putting Engel as a center back. It's like, well, okay, then we're going to put Orishano in, who's at 70%. So it's there was a lot of things that we did, and in spite of all that, 1 point behind the Shield.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
we have a group, we have a core group. And I like when I heard refresh, I don't know what you thought about it, but I thought at first I heard it, I said, "Oh, I don't like this at all. I don't like the word refresh sounds wrong. I don't like that."
That's fair.
But it is. It's not a rebuild. We've got the core. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at the spine of our team, you have Robinson as center back. You have Buka or Obi or Anunga in your defensive mid. Of course, Buka is kind of a in between offense and but that he's right there in the middle. You have a Vander and you have Danke right down the middle.
Mhm.
All you need is some complementary pieces for those players in each group. You got yourself a competitive team just with those players. If you could put out 8 other Corey Barons and probably end up making the playoffs. So I'm not saying you're going to win, but if you had those guys and six Corey Barons, you're going to make the playoffs somewhere between 5th and 8th.
Yeah.
And so, but we don't have 6 Corey Barons.
Right.
We have other players. Look, nobody knew who Engineike was. I was so blown away last year when he was in the Leagues Cup, and then he just blew by everybody,
Yeah.
including the La Liga team that we were playing. They were shocked. We were shocked. I'm like, this guy is awesome.
He's got legs, man. I'm excited to see Echenique this year in a full season. I mean, and he's got that, starting spot presumably locked down. I mean, with Dominic gone, and that's I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year.
Yeah, no, I think we have him. We have he is very fast, but we have a lot of height. We have like Jabari's like 6'2", I heard. We have people over 6 feet tall. So if we got set pieces, we got people who can rise up and get it.
Well, and that's to interrupt you. That just reminds me. I saw this on Reddit or a Discord or something. There was a LinkedIn posting, or I believe it was LinkedIn, or maybe like at one of those job hunt websites. I forget what they're all called, but the FC Cincinnati had like a public listing for a set piece coach.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, it's, maybe clown on it a little bit because they're out there on LinkedIn, soliciting interviews. But I mean, yeah, that's another aspect of this, refresh that excites me, that they directly have addressed where they've fallen short and they are attacking it. And we just don't see that a lot in Cincinnati.
And you don't get credit for that. So what you do get credit for is not getting a scouting department if you're another league, another Cincinnati team, or trading young players like a different Cincinnati team, or both, because both of them are very, very bad at managing the resources that have.
Hmm.
We are adding coaches.
Yeah.
Oh, this was bad. Look, Evander, I think Evander was if you look at set pieces, I'm just talking set pieces, they're different players, but you've got Lucho and Evander. When Lucho would take a kick, I could stay and watch it, but I might get something because he would score. He's Lucho, but when Evander's taking a kick, I'm staying. I'm watching.
Yeah.
I'm like, because more times than not, that ball's going in the back of the net with some pace and in an unusually tight window. He puts it where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
We kind of got a little bit of a letdown towards the end of the season. I think everybody was pushing. I think Evander wants to win. I think everybody here wants to win, including the front office people. So it's good to have extra coaches, and the front office is doing whatever they can to get it done. You got to remember that we are in a cap league, so we
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
Unlike I know a lot of Euro snobs out there who are like, that's why I don't watch MLS, is because we're not paying $500,000 for two players. It's like, well, right, because we have a 26,000 seat stadium, not a 90,000 seat stadium, and they don't have football, basketball, or baseball to contend with. That's their one sport for many countries, the one and only sport in which everybody is down in. So yes, you can spend more money and have larger stadiums because that's the only thing people are interested in.
Yeah.
Here, if you go on a 2-game losing streak, it's like, well, maybe I heard the Reds were winning. Maybe we should go this weekend to the Reds game, and right. So the battle of dollars is real, and you have to put the best product you can out there. But we can't pull a Miami because the league won't let us. Although I think we would like to. So you have to deal with what we have. I'm excited about this season. I think we're going to press a little bit more, or at least when we press, we're going to press better.
Mm.
I don't know what exactly that means. I just feel like I think we've got that. I think we should switch the fields a little bit better, quicker. Everything needs to be quicker and better. I think Echenike now knows his teammates better. At the end of the season, he was getting well, but he kept getting banged up. So hopefully, and he's a young kid.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is that all of our players, not all of them, but the vast majority of the ones, particularly the ones we're counting on, are 26, 27, 28. They're in their primes. We're not, it's not a 36 or 37-year-old former GOAT. It's a guy who's playing right now at the highest level that he can, and it should be fun to watch. And if we can mesh these guys together, which I think we can,
Hmm.
I think it's going to be very good. Given that we have to condense such a schedule, I don't know where we're going to be. But unlike last year, where I said give them a couple of months, like every year, I said we have these new players. In February, we suck. March, we suck less. By the beginning of April, we got it, and by mid-April to mid-July, we're on all cylinders. I think we're coming out the gate.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, short of a last minute, loan or something of that nature, the team seems to be pretty much set. You have the guys who you're going to play with. They, have had training as it started last week. They're going to have the preseason, and they have the expectation to right the ship, to get things going. I think you're going to see. I certainly hope that you're going to see an exciting team out the gate with your core pieces. Your spine on the field, having been together for multiple years at this point.
Yeah, so that's what we want, right? So think about it. New last year, Evander,
Mhm.
Danke, Echenike, Jabari, Engel, who obviously isn't here. We don't have that many spots. We got rid of Orishano and Engel in favor of Ramirez, yes, but we still have Echenike, who came in mid-season. Now he knows who we are, and he's had time to rest and hopefully heal up and bulk up a little bit. Everybody knows everybody, so when they come into training, they're like, they don't have to wear "Hi, my name is," right? They know they've got history. They know each other. It should be a good locker room and a good training session, a quiet training. For once, it's a quiet training session. Nobody's nobody's talking like last year. Was why is Yuya Kubo holding out? Why is he holding out?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's nice to have a drama-free, January for once.
I like that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Drama-free January. It's like No Shave November. Like I always say, save your drama for your llama. But
there we go.
It's what you have. So where do you see us? I know it's way far out, and there's a lot of things. World Cup is going to be taking what 4 weeks out of the schedule, and here in the United States, everybody's excited about that. But where do you see this team? Let's say, where do you see this team mid-season? We'll make predictions to mid-season.
Mid-season. Oh, this would be better if I could remember off the top of my head some of the matches that we have and what order they're in. But I mean, I think realistically mid-season, like I said earlier, you're going to be looking at a team that my belief is will be firmly in competition for top of the table. I would say, top of the table. I'm not going to say, 1, 2, 3, whatever, because those numbers don't really matter in June. It doesn't matter until you get off and running down the stretch, right? Until that top of the order really solidifies. But I think mid-season, we're going to be competitive. We're going to be in the mix, and we're going to be, excited for what is to come down the stretch of the second half.
I don't know how Philadelphia did it last year, but I think they dropped down a little bit. Last I checked, Miami isn't getting any younger, and they want to win a CONCACAF championship to add to that guy's trophy case, I guess, as a prestige thing, I guess. So I don't see them having to play a lot of games in a short amount of time, plus the CONCACAF. I don't see those guys, at least in the first half of the season, doing anything either. I don't know where Nashville is. I don't know where Orlando is. Chicago is an up-and-comer.
Yeah.
They got so there's going to be some new teams. I think there's going to be some new blood, some new teams.
Yeah,
that's what makes it exciting. But I think you're right. I think we're going to be top 3. I feel like it's this team, I think, has a lot of competitors. So I think they're really seething about how poorly things went. I think a change of style, a couple months to think about it, knowing the familiarity with the players is going to be hugely helpful.
Yeah.
I see us calmly and quietly doing that, and I think our back of our roster, which is going to be huge this season for every team, not just us, because Messi's not going to play 3 times in 7 days.
Right. Yeah.
You just know that, and some of the other players who have major players, they can't play 3 times in 7 days, 5 times in 14 days, or whatever it's going to be. It's going to be crazy to try to get as many games in. I don't think they're getting rid of Leagues Cup.
Oh, no, I doubt it.
So you have World Cup for a month, Leagues Cup for 3 months, and then you've got CONCACAF, which is always at the beginning of our season. So we're going to be playing 2 or 3 times a week coming up. Do you see us putting a lot of effort into CONCACAF this year?
I mean, I think probably about the same amount of effort that we've seen the last couple of years, right? They're not, writing it off like, an early round of, U.S. Open Cup or something. I mean, they'll legitimately, try to go after it. I mean, maybe not, the first game or two when you're, playing some, lower down teams. But once we're, playing, do we have Monterey back on, or is it
Which
Tigre?
is, I think it's Tigres this year because I think the
Tigres.
last 2 years we played Monterey. So, and that was when we were playing against Vasquez after having him on our squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, and they are mid-season form.
Yeah, that's always the thing, right? Is with the timing of when the season starts, you're playing teams that are in mid-season form, and you're just now in your first 4 weeks of play. So that's always difficult. But I expect that they would contend, or not. I don't expect them to contend for that. Honestly, I expect them to actually compete, though. Put a competitive lineup out on the field and make for an interesting matchup.
I think our focus should be always the cup. I know CONCACAF would be a good get. I liked their approach last year, and they had to play their starters because they hadn't played together. So this was really just a training session. Hey, go for it until it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
right? If you give up a goal or it doesn't look like it's going your way, then pull the starters out, even if it's the 30 minutes in. Save those legs for the MLS Cup run. And hey, if we make the round of 16 like we do every year, that's fine. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts about this season before we head out?
I mean, final thoughts. I'm just excited to get it started. There is, as a big supporter of this club, there is no greater joy, that I have than when we're able to get out there and cheer for this team that represents our city. Has the the crest on their shirt, and truly tries to make us happy, put on an entertaining game, and bring glory to Cincinnati. That's just looking forward to getting back in the Bailey and screaming my heart out for him.
Any new chance? As you don't, if you don't know, Andrew is a capo for the brigade. So is there any new chance? Any things that you guys have in the Bailey ready to unwrap?
Well, I'm not a chant writer. I'm a chant yeller. But so I'm not going to put words in anybody else's mouth on that. But stay tuned. I mean, there's definitely some work going on that.
I want to be controversial. How about we replace Mr. Brightside with Golden?
Jeez. I don't think you'll find very much opposition in replacing Mr. Brightside, but you got to take that one to the top.
Yeah, I like the song for some reason. It wasn't written for me or my generation, but for some reason it sticks. It's like we're golden, we're golden. I don't know. Mr. Brightside has always been a confusing victory song, but
Yeah.
maybe just write a chant that sounds like golden. I don't know. Uh, like I'm a K-pop fan. Do I look like a K-pop fan? Uh, anyhow, anything else that you'd like to say or promote before we head out?
So, no, that's, I'm just me, so I'm just excited for this season to start.
Well, I don't really have any thoughts either. I would say my host is. I'm hoping my host will show up for the next one. I think he will. And we look forward to seeing you this season, season 4. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time here on FCC Supporters Square.